welcome formally to Cha, Kim Saira.
Thank you. Wait, this is, by the way, so cute.
Oh,
I love the tea. Like, I needed this today.
Thank you for approving, because we were going for lo-fi aesthetics to begin with. You know, because I do have all the camera equipment and all the podcasting gear, but we wanted it to be very comfortable and, you know, conversational. Because the minute you hit record, people start like,
they're like,
what am I gonna say?
No, me.
Good afternoon.
Me. I like snap. I'm like, okay, got it. Like, yeah, no, this is.
It's like an interesting exploration of like taking what everyone sees and presents online. Even like how, I mean, we all met online, we all met virtually, and taking it into in person. I was told by a friend to not say, but she was questioning my use of in real life. She's like, what do you mean by in real life?
In the flesh.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's a good, she's like, because some people like are only able to have virtual relationships because of disabilities or other access like restrictions, and it feels minimizing to say in real life is only if you're in the flesh. So I now try to say in person or in the flesh. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's true.
But my whole thing, what was I saying? Like, yeah, it's an interesting exploration of like taking what exists in that virtual space and like what happens when we're like really together. And it's really nice.
It's even better, honestly.
Actually, the first time I met you were meeting with, it was the same day.
In real life, because you had just moved to New York.
Yeah.
And I was having lunch with Leah, and I was like, guess who I'm meeting?
Yeah.
Kim Saira.
Was it right before we had lunch?
Yes.
Yeah.
That I had
I remember
lunch with her.
it was really hot that day. Do you remember?
Yes.
And you were walking like, she was like, I need to walk with that. Was it like not moving your arms?
I just like,
You're like, I hate being this hot. And you're like, if I just don't move my body as much, maybe I won't be
It
as
was
hot.
really hot, I do remember.
And I decided that I wanted Thai food.
Yes. And like spicy, hot,
spicy.
sweaty, hot.
Yeah,
And it was
that's
so
so
hot.
real.
I remember just walking out and you're like,
I was like, I can't move.
you're like, don't mind me if I'm walking with.
Oh my god, no.
Yeah, so I met you
remember
both
that.
on the same day.
Was that the first time you met Kim
That
too?
was the first
in
time.
the flesh?
Yeah,
Wow.
because I had been following you, honestly, just from you being vocal about Palestine, but you had this whole influencer wellness career before
LOL.
then, right?
LOL.
So this is interesting because I
Eons
met
ago.
you in the before times.
Yes. Actually, I think it was right before.
Yeah, it was August 2023. I interviewed you for the podcast just because I thought you were a cool person who was talking about racism.
gosh.
You're talking
Yeah.
about racism, right? And white supremacy. And you were also in like the wellness, somatics work field. And I was like, that's an amazing intersection. And then Al-Aqsa flood, October 7th happened. And I watched everybody I knew pretty much be silent, neutral, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
Definitely people I'd had on the podcast before.
on you.
I don't erase episodes because I like to show the evolution of my
that's
own
so smart.
you know, learning and
course.
unlearning and who I used to center.
smart.
Of course.
I mean, I love everybody, but you know, like
Yeah.
just who I want to amplify.
Yeah.
And you were like one of the only people who
That's pretty sad.
shifted to like focusing on the people who needed it the most.
That's
cry.
That's so sad.
But you were though, and I was like, you're the only person that I had interviewed, and you were one of the few people that I actually even knew. And everyone else that I've met has been post, and it's been post that time.
Have you noticed them change? Like looking into right now, have you like looked and like seen other folks?
So what I saw was, do you remember the All Eyes on Rafa moment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
May, was that April?
It was May.
April, May?
It was during Memorial Day weekend.
I thought that was going to be the moment when everything shifted because I saw lots of people start, like they posted that AI graphic or said something about
A lot of
it.
people did, yeah.
People who had up to that point been silent. And I was like, yes. But then that was the only thing they did. Maybe they did
Interesting.
stories. Maybe they donate. Maybe hopefully they have
It's like
conversations.
the Black Square.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen people. I feel like where are we now? 17 months in? If you don't care, like how are you going to suddenly wake up and care? I don't know. I hope you feel guilty though.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I do. I
have compassion.
I don't.
But you literally came like with a force. You started calling people out. You actually called out specific people, which I was like, fuck yes.
I did.
And you were just like on fire, right? For like a year. But then you started shifting your content. Was it because that was burning you out? Like, what was happening at that time?
I think what came to mind was like this calling them. I think I would make those reels of like, I'm calling you in, like this is, and I would try to explain everything with like reason and logic and all of this as to why I should care about a genocide. But then as time went by, I was like, wait, like, is this actually going to change people? Like they, and a lot of them have like basically haven't changed. So then was like asking myself, is this the best use of my energy? Like I have all of this fire, I have all of this like, you know, almost righteousness in a way, but in the same breath of like, look at what's going on. And then I'm like, wait, I have this much energy in the day. Like, do I want to spend this time calling people in, or do I want to spend this time focusing on like what I already know, which was like building IRL spaces? Yeah. I
mean, I think it's been a beautiful shift. Like, I think, so you had that amazing soul space. How many have you done now? Was that the fourth?
I think it was the third.
Okay,
I told someone it was the fourth.
I was like, I must have missed. I wasn't invited to the first.
No, it felt like four, but
I was like, I've been to three, but okay, there's four.
It was three.
Okay, but I mean, regardless, we were all there. Laura was one of the guest speakers, and I think we really felt like the energy of that. I think it's been building, and there is something really powerful that happens when people come and gather together physically.
Yeah.
And like listen to each other and, you know, like share ideas, or even just like being close to somebody else. So I think it's a really beautiful shift of your energy. And like, it took you coming to New York It
did. And I think it also was just like a plethora of things happening. Like I lost all the opportunities. I lost all my jobs. I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do now?
Because of speaking up for Palestine?
It literally went away like that.
Yeah.
Like snap of it, like so fast.
Do you want to share how that happened?
Yeah, literally, like I think I had started speaking up in November. I think that's when November 2023. And then literally that, like maybe 2 weeks after that, I started getting emails from like brands that I would have been working with saying, we're not going to work with you anymore.
And then, did they say why?
No. No, they never do. And then I was like, I didn't put two and two together. But I was talking to an organizer, and she was like, it's because of Palestine. And I didn't believe her until then January rolled around, February rolled around, and I still wasn't getting anything. And then from there, I told my partner, we have to move back to my parents' house because like, I'm not getting anything.
Because that was your work, that was your income.
Yeah. And then we moved back in April, which was like a whole different, even now, like ongoing new situation living with my parents, like not the best. But then now being like, okay, I have such good, like, I very much know how much energy I have in a day, and I'm trying to be very cognizant of how I use it. So like, I don't have time to like call people in on the internet anymore.
Well, to your point, I think maybe if you had seen results from that, if it had been effective, you maybe would have kept going. You're like, oh, I can help people open their eyes, shift their policies, whatever. But you're like, it's like screaming into the abyss.
But I feel like a lot of the content in the first year was like that for a lot of people. It was like, hello, why aren't you caring? And then there was like a natural pivot I noticed with a lot of creators, myself included. Like I stopped making content like that just because I was like, they're not going to get, if they don't care now, why would they care like 12 months in, you know? So we just saw a natural pivot of people then like channeling their content in a different way. And so so you weren't getting any jobs, you moved to New York. And do you feel any kind of resentment now that you just like gave all of that up?
Yeah, 100%. Not like resentment in the sense, like, not jobs. I mean, like, yeah, it sucks to, like, lose everything in, like, a month. And it was, like, I've never gone through anything like that in my life, of just, like, everything is gone in a blink of an eye. On top of that, people that I thought I was in community with, because I was trying to have these conversations with people one-on-one, people I've known for years and have spoken up about Black Lives Matter, about, like, Stop Asian Hate, literally tell me, like, we're not talking about Palestine. And not even we're not talking about it, we don't even agree that this is a genocide. Like,
Stop Asian Hate one is so weird to me, because Palestinians are Asian.
Oh my god, it was just like it was like such an awakening moment of, like, what are you doing this for? Like, why are you online profiting from this? You can use all of your social privilege to now actually make such a huge difference. And for them to be like, nope. So that happened in, like, the same month. And then, and so now I'm like, what do I feel really salty about? I think it's the fact that there are so many people who have such a big online presence that if you're wondering why they're not speaking out, like, just know that a lot of people have probably called them in one-on-one, and it's a choice.
Yeah.
And I have to, like, sit in the reality of, like, they're not in my community anymore. Like, I don't align with them. I feel a little bit salty about that. And then the second thing is, like, the brands, like, who have been like, I want to hire you for this Asian Happy AAPI month thing, and then cut a lot of folks off, like myself, for, like,
Speaking out for Asians.
Speaking up about for Asians and for Palestine. It's just, like, all of that happening.
So fucking for real.
Yeah.
Sorry, my anger is coming out.
No, literally that. And I just feel like I haven't spent enough time, like, really sitting in that, because I moved back home. Like, but yeah, it's really weird. It's really weird.
And the fact that they have, like, I know how much influencers make just because I was one as well. And, like, they make so much money from one post.
Yeah.
So that is also why they're silent, is because they don't want to miss out on those 30 grand checks. And it's like, oh, okay, I see. Like, you're being bought. And it's like, I feel like we had this conversation at your birthday party. I feel I was spiraling out of control because I felt so resentful that here we are, like, sacrificing our financial well-being and living with our parents and speaking out for Palestine. And I don't regret that at all. To then see people in your industry and your space continuing to collect these checks and be silent is just like,
no, exactly.
You know? Oh my God.
Yeah, no, like, that's exactly how I've been feeling. It's actually a big reason why, like, I haven't posted, like, I'm not online. I'm not in the online space as much right now, because I'm thinking, how do I want to move in this online space knowing that this had happened, and, like, not getting so triggered every time I'm on the internet? Like, what do I want community building to look like in a way that doesn't, like, deprive me of, like, everything I have energetically?
It's really interesting. I was talking to my husband about this, and he's in the advertising world, and he's got all kinds of clients, and, you know, there's going to be certain powers that be within those spaces, but he's very much like, yeah, there are, like, I don't know what to call them, bad, for lack of a better word, people everywhere, but that not everybody is bad, that not all companies are bad, you know, like, that not every company is just going to write you off because you speak against genocide. And I wonder if there's, you know, we always talk about, like, the tide shifting, right? And that at one point we're all going to look back and everyone will have been against this, right? So, I mean, I just imagine that moment. I believe in that moment. And I think, like, the Oscar win for No Other Land, with all the problems that people have with it, which are fair, I feel like that's an indication of that. I mean, like, there's a Palestinian story that exists in the Academy.
Yeah.
that one, you know, like that's huge. And so that just kind of gives all the other people who are operating on fear of loss of that income a little more permission, because it's like, oh, okay, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
I think I don't want to keep dwelling on the bitterness and the resentment, because there are ways to transmute that, but it's always the people that have the least that put up the most and sacrifice the most. And it's always the people that don't have kids, that are single, that don't have a mortgage. And it's like, I constantly feel like I'm always in this position of putting myself first and not getting like kind of like left on red a little bit. I did this for BLM too. I did this for like all the other causes that came before it. And it's like, of course that is part of my purpose. So it's like, I cannot not do that. Right. But then it's like, when we talk about community, it kind of makes me resentful when people say that. And we talked about this with Joelle. It's like, but then what the fuck did you do? Like, because literally I've been trying to recuperate that income these past 17 months because I was not getting that income back. And when we talk about community, how are you supporting people who are speaking out?
Yeah.
Are you supporting their Substack? Are you supporting their work? Are you getting readings? Are you know, it's financial is just a part of it. Of course, there's other resources, but it's like, you know, why does it always have to be the people that have the least?
I mean, that's a form of wealth. I look at it as a form of wealth redistribution too, right? Like being like, okay, I'm going to support this person's Substack or whatever, their private business, or, you know, even if it's in little ways, and that shifts things. And you feel like, how am I going to change this? I can't stop genocide. Like, I can't stop our government. But I don't know. I have to believe these little things matter too. And again, more people should be doing that. I think we are. I think it's slow, but I think it's happening.
Yeah, I definitely think it's happening. And I think like thinking about folks who didn't want to speak up because of like jobs and XYZ, that would have been such a beautiful way to show. It's like donating to mutual aid. Like, I think where I'm at right now, like mentally and emotionally, is like, I want to believe in humanity so bad. And I do. I also am cognizant of like, these are things that we need to talk about for folks who are aligned, like finances, and just like, okay, how are we showing up for each other financially? How are we, like, if I needed to move out, which is literally my situation right now, I need to move out, like, and I need X amount of money to help me move out of a toxic situation. Like, who can I call on to like not give me money, but like help point me in these different directions without me feeling like I'm overburdening that person? Because sometimes that's exactly how I feel. I'm like, I need to talk to someone about this, but I feel like this person has a lot on their plate. And so like, because they're an organizer, they do all these things, that they're not going to have emotional bandwidth for me. But I'm like, no, when we build in community, like, these are the things we should be working through, instead of like, I don't know, I think it's like
performative stuff.
Yeah. There was not a point there, but no, but it was,
really, we talked about this, like talking about finances as a form of community care, or what, I don't remember what talk we were doing this in, but getting to the nitty gritty and talking about the uncomfortable things of sharing resources. Are you okay on rent? And, you know, all of these different aspects of community that we're all like, oh, you can't talk about that stuff because it's inappropriate.
Well, we're also like just busting out of the boundaries that like we were told that we had to have. Like we were talking earlier, like the nuclear family boundary, we just take care of that. That's the only people we care about and take care of. But it's like we're exploring this, like, oh wait, no, like you're my family too, and you're welcome here. Or you're like, what can I help you with? When you were going through some stuff, remember, and we were talking back and forth, and
I do.
Yeah, and
still going through that.
I think, listening to what you said right now with like you don't think people have the emotional bandwidth. I think we are meant to think that, but I was like so more than happy. I mean, I'm not you were asking for lawyer kind of related questions, and I'm not a lawyer, obviously. But my thinking is like, okay, I know this lawyer. How can I, so that you don't have to pay someone like a massive fee to ask a simple question. It was a tax accountant, not a lawyer. It was taxes, right?
It was also a lawyer.
It's also a lawyer, yeah, all of it. But like I think we should lean on each other and I don't know, because that feels good to be supporting somebody else, and then that I think that is like brick by brick building this community that we've all been like we've not had.
Yeah. I'm like listening to you and I'm like, oh, this reminds me of what someone told me about compassion fatigue. Like, I'm like gonna totally butcher it because personally I think it could be reframed a different way, but a teacher that I had once followed didn't say anything about the Palestinian genocide, so I'm just like,
how dare you?
Separated myself from their work, but they were saying like
name drop.
I'm like, I took my certification with them, the somatic one, and I don't teach that one anymore.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't teach that one.
This is cha, which means tea.
It is tea. They were talking about compassion fatigue and how like it doesn't exist if you're not moving from a place of ego. So like if you're moving from this like all-encompassing selflessness, then like you wouldn't experience compassion fatigue because you're not thinking about yourself, you're thinking about others. And I'm like, I've been thinking about that a lot because I do have fatigue. Like I'm so tired of living in capitalist systems where I have to take care of myself to live and also be there for my friends and people I don't know, and I'm tired. Like that's really what it is. Does that still mean I'm moving from a place of like self, like ego, like I need to be recognized? No, I'm just tired of like the systems we live in.
Yes.
I don't think that's tiredness because of compassion. I think that's tiredness because of capitalism.
Yeah, because of the system.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like marinating now because of what you said of like, how can we take care of each other in a way that feels like regenerative, especially now when we're just so tired of seeing what's going on in the news. And then I'll add one more thing to this too. I was listening to someone yesterday who was like, we've been through this before, like oppression, all of this, we've been through this before. Our ancestors have been through this before. And so like what grounded them to like keep going? And we have that within us too. Yeah. So like what is that thing that we can ground in on when everything feels like, when we're feeling the inevitable collapse of the empire? Anyway.
Well, I feel like it's a shared either indigeneity, like you either share the same land or identity or a religion. And I was just sharing with Joelle that the problem with the United States is we're all fractured. Divide and conquer is a colonial thing, 101, right? And so what is tying all of us together beyond tribe, beyond ethnicity, beyond race, beyond religion? We have to like find that thing. Yeah. And it seems like it's a shared value system for the most part, you know, caring about each other, about humanity. Yeah,
humanity, the fight for everyone to be free.
Even people we don't like.
I know.
Literally.
I have to keep reminding myself, collective is everyone.
It's everybody.
That's what pains me so much.
It pains me so much because I'm petty.
I'm so petty too.
And I do love a good revenge.
No, me too. I like even that part. And I'll give you an example. I'm living with my mom, which has been so... oh my God. It's like Ram Dass has a quote and he was like, if you think you're spiritual, try living with your parents for a week. And literally it's that, like every single, I had a fight with my mom just before coming here. Oh, no. It's like every day, like, and it's like at this point in our relationship, we literally cannot speak to one another without a disagreement. Like it's just not possible.
What do you disagree about?
It's like I'll give you the example about today. Literally, like I went to the kitchen to make coffee and then she said, well, she knows like my plans for my birthday, which is like I'm not going to be here. I'm going to spend it with friends. And she was like, do you want to have dinner with like me and your dad because we haven't had dinner for a while? And I said, is it going to be this weekend? Because I can't. And she said, no, it doesn't have to be this weekend. It could be this week. And I'm like, maybe, I don't know yet. I really don't know yet. And she said, she's like, that's the thing about you. You're being so disrespectful to your parents. Like and then she just starts going and going and going. She's also extremely Catholic, which is like, she hurls like all of these things, and she's coming from that place. And so I had to just be like, Mom, like, it's my birthday weekend. Like, can we just like just for today? And then I had to like walk away while she was still talking. And there have been glimpses in other conversations where I'll see the mom that I want. Like, I'll see the mom I know I like. This is my mom. Like, it's like maybe 5 seconds, but I'll see it. And then she just twists it, you know, like something comes up and it's so unexpected. And I saw this TikTok yesterday of like, I'm going to butcher the quote, but it was like, you need to know how to, like, community is knowing how to be in annoyance with each other. Have you seen that? It's like, to be in community means being like, sometimes we
coexisting while you're being annoyed.
Yeah. And I'm like, I've been thinking about that a lot. And I'm like, I don't think it applies to my situation. I think I need to leave, but it's like even that, right? Like, how can I be in a relationship with folks that like I genuinely don't agree with? Our values might not even align.
Well,
but that's why it starts in the home. Yeah. That's why it starts with your parents. It starts with your siblings. Then it like branches out to your like outer circles. Yeah. Because this is the reason why I feel like I'm pretty good at conflict resolution is because of my parents.
Yeah.
You know, like they're so annoying. Because that's their purpose. Right. I really do believe that.
I mean, all parents or your parents?
I think every parent
that's such a
Oh yeah, my kid tells me regularly like, you're so annoying.
Literally, because I feel like they're karmic for your growth.
Right.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
Because I know I trigger my parents now because our roles have reversed. And like now my dad tells me that I'm mean to him.
My mom says the same thing.
And I'm like, what? I'm just telling you the truth. What are you talking about? So like I get it, but I think that's where it starts. And I'm not saying, you know, try to, you know, if it's really toxic, obviously you need to remove yourself, because I did for 20 years, you know, but then I came back and I was like, something needs to be repaired here because it's so bad.
Yeah, I'm literally in that situation. No, it's true. When you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, maybe that is. But here's the catch of it all too. It's like, how long, like, you know, I've tried for so long to rebuild relationships with my mom. Half of it was just me trying to understand where she was coming from. And so then it's like, how do you move in relationship when it's those situations? Like,
because you're still waiting for the mom that you want.
Yeah. I was going to say, you're waiting for the mom. You're waiting for her to change or be different.
And she is.
You might be waiting forever for that.
I think I finally accepted a lot of things because I understood the trauma that our parents went through. We just talk about colonization. It was in their lifetime. And so I can't imagine growing up in that situation where your parents were fucking colonized and then you grew up in like post-colonial U.S. occupation and how
and then becoming and being an immigrant in this wonderful country.
Literally. Like that makes you fucked up.
Immigrant trauma, racial trauma, that's capitalism trauma, obviously. It's so much. And then to think like no tools, no support system, because Asian, I mean, I don't know specifically about Filipino culture, but like most Asian cultures, you don't talk about that stuff. Right? Just push through, go to church, everything will be okay.
No,
and
literally.
like that doesn't help. So
literally.
And then I think the older you get, like either you're going to be like, oh my God, something has to shift, or you dig your heels in deeper. You know? And I feel like you go one way or the other. And then it depends. Some people respond to nudges or like a mirror being held up in like one way or the other, and you can't control what someone else does. It's so hard, but And like, but it's a difficult situation if you're not home because you're super excited to be there. You're there because that was the most sensible choice, right? Or the only
for
choice.
financial reasons.
Yeah. And I'm like not in a financial place to move out, like at all, period, point blank. But after today, I called my partner and I was like, we need to leave. Like,
is he there with you too? Or
yeah, he's living with me.
Wait, that's like interesting that your family's okay with that, no?
Oh, they have no choice. Like,
but I mean, considering they're like Asian and Catholic, I'm like, ooh, don't.
Yeah, no, I honestly think they're letting us live with them because they think we're getting married, which like is a whole other set of expectations. So it's like almost like we're gonna let you do this. In return, you're going to get married and give us a child. Like but I called him and I was like, we need to leave because like I'm at my wit's end.
You're gonna implode.
I'm gonna implode, like literally. I was like crying on the way here because I was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
And how does he navigate this relationship and be living with them?
He's known about this since we started dating. He's not home 90% of the time, but when he is home, like he acts as that barrier. So like he'll talk to them, like I'm in my room, like if I don't want to have dinner, he'll like give them like an excuse to say I'm busy. It's really complicated. It's also a 1-bedroom apartment. They sleep in the living room and we're in our own room.
Oh my gosh.
So anybody would go nuts.
Anyone would go nuts. And so I like told them we need to leave. We're both not in a place to like leave. Like we would be able to leave and get an apartment, but we would struggle for like at least 4 months. And I told him I need us to like believe in ourselves because we have to do it.
Manifest.
We need to manifest. Like we can do this.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
So it's like even that, going back to the point of like just like believing that there's like that goal of like, you know, shifting tides. I literally told him like we're half ready. Financially, we're emotionally ready fully. So let's just like jump the gun. Yeah.
It's already happening in the time space continuum. It's happening. Whatever it's called.
It's already happened.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting with because your partner's white. And so there is this like neutralizing sort of power that he has.
He's a white man.
You know. So I think that's like actually a really beautiful way that he's using his identity to kind of, you know, buffer and, you know, pacify. He like knows probably how to pacify your parents, and your parents are probably more like willing to.
They're more receptive.
More receptive to him as the white man. But you've talked in the past about the difficulty you've had with his family. And especially, do you want to talk about Thanksgiving?
Yeah. So I literally like, I'm funny. I had a conversation with someone literally yesterday for 2 hours and me and that person are not in a relationship. Like the last time we spoke was 2021.
Ooh.
And they asked about that. I posted a story about Thanksgiving and they were like, can I know what happened? And I literally shot both my middle fingers up and I was like, that's how I feel about them. And he was like, still? I was like, yeah.
So you went to his family's house for Thanksgiving. Where is he from?
He's from Maryland. Okay. And I went to his family's house.
Armed with like decolonial education, right?
Yeah, I came with my keffiyeh. Funny too, because before that I told Mark, like, what can I say and what can't I say? Like, if I get triggered, how are you going to make me feel safe? Like, we were trying to set up all of these, like, emotional...
So you were expecting, you knew...
Oh, I knew, yeah.
And what was it that you knew because of, you knew where they stood on genocide, or just because they were celebrating this colonial holiday?
Oh, they were just celebrating the holiday, but me and his parents have had back and forth since 2021 about race.
So there's a history of...
There's a history.
Yes, right, just about... conversations around race and racism. Okay.
So like we stayed at his parents' house, but then for Thanksgiving we went to his aunt's house. I've never met his aunt. I've never met his extended family. And we got there and they were preparing the food, all the adults. My partner had actually like then said, he brought up you know, like we should talk about this colonial holiday, like the origins
at like the dinner table?
No, they were just prepping the food.
Yeah.
And then his extended family like weren't really responding to him. And then he said it's pretty similar to Palestine, like the genocide and colonization. And so I just think we should like acknowledge like what we're like gathering together for. He started that conversation, and I supported it. And then his aunt looked at us and said, "Okay, yeah." And that's when it started. Yeah. And it was just that comment. That was it. That was literally it. And I said to her, like, you know, I'm wearing this keffiyeh. Like, do you know what it stands for? I know what it stands for. I know. God. That was it. And then right after that, I said I needed to excuse myself. I literally bursted out the house crying because I didn't think it would just be that one comment to trigger it. And then he chased after me. Like, we ended up coming back for the dinner.
How was that?
And then for the whole dinner, I just like stayed silent. I didn't say a word. My partner had brought it up, and then like they were like, I remember his cousin saying, "Why don't we just toast to our family? Why do like," yeah. So it was just like passive aggressive bypassing. At the end of the night, his aunt had came up to me and said, "I just want to apologize for my behavior. I just want you to know that I don't see color. I don't see race. I believe that Jesus loves us for who we are."
Stop, not Jesus.
At all of this.
Jesus, the Palestinian Jesus.
That. And I was just sitting there, and at this point in time, my partner was actually arguing with his mom in the back of the house because she was so, by the way, didn't say a word the whole time. She was so thrown because she thought that we had ruined the dinner. And she was just giving the silent treatment. So he was trying to talk to his mom, and then I was talking to the aunt. And then we left. And when we left, parents didn't talk to us. And then I was in the house for like, I was supposed to stay for pretty much the entire week. And then on the third day, I told my partner, we have to leave. Like, I don't want to stay here anymore. I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. And then right before we left, I like had a sit-down conversation with his parents about why that comment shouldn't have resulted in this response. And yeah, that's literally
I mean,
it.
I was going to say, is it a genocide Thanksgiving without a family argument? I feel like that's like part of the dinner. That's part of the experience.
But here's like burning the karma.
Literally. The thing though, like I've had dinners, like Thanksgiving dinners with my family, and like they don't like. There's never that reaction when it comes to like the reality of like this holiday. So it was my first time being at a white person Thanksgiving and then seeing how triggered they get.
Because they know.
Yeah.
That's never happened in my whole life, which is why I went on Instagram and I was like, what the F is going on? Like, tell me, like.
Are his ancestors like pilgrims from the Pilgrims?
Yes.
Like, do they see? So they know what they caused.
Yeah.
So it's like this deep shame that they carry, and so you pointing it out,
I think that's
like,
what it was.
Ooh,
yeah.
You know, but good for you. They should feel shame around that.
And
they
like,
should.
The thing is, if only people would just be receptive to learning a bit more. We're not even asking, we're not being like, you need to go to jail because of what happened, you know, like just listen, and it would change so much, you know?
It's just the denial of it. It's like, what are you even denying? We're just talking facts, like historical facts, that this holiday is about genocide. Like,
but how dare you ruin the vibes?
It's just weird. I haven't celebrated Thanksgiving in like maybe 6 years. Like, now my parents do their own thing. I travel, my sister works. It's just like we just don't celebrate it because it's like, it's just a fucked up energetic day.
Yeah.
Like, none of us should be celebrating.
It's
sorry.
Indigenous Mourning Day.
Yeah.
How are you gonna like gather? You know, it's just.
But when you do, you recognize that it's a day of genocide and that it's literally like what they're doing in Palestine. So,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I'm the firm belief that we should be in these spaces making white people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So you did your duty, as far as I'm concerned.
Literally, that's what I think. And the funny thing is that this is like the wild part about it, which is that his parents in 2020, 2021, 2022 have expressed wanting to learn about anti-racism. That's the kicker of it all. So I'm coming in being myself, but like with the full knowledge, like you want to be here, like you want to unlearn. And I think that's what really set the whole thing off, realizing, oh, wait, you're actually being performative and you actually don't care unless you personally benefit somehow. So, yeah, white people.
But at least he spoke up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They think I'm a firecracker for sure.
Well, and did your partner already have this understanding prior to being with you, or?
He knew that like his parents were this way, like we almost broke up because of this. So like he knows. The thing is, he didn't know his extended family was like this. So didn't anticipate those comments from like his family. And I can't blame him for that, but at the same time, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you should know more than me. And I asked him, like, have you brought up genocide, like, at all for these Thanksgivings? Never. This was the first time, which then had me screaming at him. And I'm like, what the F are you doing? Like, so...
I mean, this is another thing we're changing, like, the zeitgeist, right? Of, like, just normalizing these topics, these conversations.
Yeah.
I think so much about, the saying, like, you don't bring up religion or politics at the dinner table. And that's so been, like, you guys have heard that saying, right? And it's so, like, be polite.
That's such a white American.
Yeah, that
but
is
it's
a
like,
white American
it's really ingrained, into, like, so society is like, you don't do that. It's so taboo. And, like, that is part of why we are in this situation, in this disaster, you know, because so many people won't talk about it. And we're changing that. Like, we're in our small spaces and then hopefully continuing to ripple out. Like, you made an impact.
You know what's funny? I didn't realize until staying with his family that there are white people who really don't, like, it doesn't even come to mind to them to think about people other than their immediate family.
Yeah.
I never, like, that's never been a thing for me growing up. Like, so it's like, it's not even like it's almost like not even a thought to like actually donate to other people. Like, it's like, we need to take care of like our immediate family, me and my family. If like for me, I'm not in their family, but if I come into the picture, it's so like, they're not used to like an other, and I'm not even white, so there's that too, coming into the family. Whereas my partner always says, like, oh, I always feel like with your family, I feel like I'm a part of your family.
Well, this is like the collectivist culture.
Yeah.
Right?
It's very Asian.
Yeah.
I mean, and you spent some time in the Philippines over the holidays, right? How long were you there? The whole month of December or something?
I was there for like 26 days.
How did that feel?
Amazing. Like, it's so collectivist culture, and it's so naturally in bed in like the communities. They host block parties. They like, for Christmas they had street fireworks. But it's, I've told so many people this because they're like, and whenever I say this, they're like, what? That's a thing? Every meal that we have, like, the neighbors come by. Like, there's no invitation. It's like, just come. Like, we have food, and it's the same with them. And it's that same, it's like, when I was there, I was able to practice all these things I was learning about, and they just like naturally do it. Yeah.
That's how I felt when I was in Korea. It's a little different because now it's so westernized, but when I was with my family, and it's the same thing, like when we go out to dinner, there's like 30 people at this dinner. It's like my mom's cousin's daughter's son, like there's like all these people, and everyone's fighting over the bill and who's going to pay, and everyone's like, okay, where are we going next? Let's all have to, it's like, you just feel so taken care of, and you never worry that there's not enough. And then when I come to the US, it's almost like I have to pull back and have boundaries with people because they don't have that same background, Which is so sad because I don't want to be like that. I want to be like, here, everybody.
Yeah.
Well, and we're all social creatures. We need each other. And like, you need more than just like your one, whatever, like support person or what, you know, like more than the nuclear family, let's say. Like you need more than that. Because sometimes you're not going to like the person that you're like actually in partnership with or whatever. And you don't want to feel like you're completely isolated. I think about this with new mothers a lot too. You know, the whole "it takes a village." Well, where the fuck is a village? There's no village. Yeah. It does take a village, but we're all, you know, boxed in, and you feel like you're afraid to ask for help because, like you said earlier, what if they don't have the emotional bandwidth? But we do, but we just aren't in a place where we're like, it's like reciprocal. You know, it's kind of like, I don't want to. This is what I hear a lot from new moms is like, I don't want to ask for help because that makes me look like I can't do it by myself, or I don't want to burden you, or all these things. And like, it's not how it works. Because like when you, it's all rooted in love, and the more you give, like the more love is created, and you know, it's just we need to get back to that collectivist mentality, I think, and hopefully I mean, that's the whole thing with the call to community, right? Is
I remember when you came back, you were like, I'm not meant to live here.
Oh, yeah. I'm moving out.
Back from the Philippines?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not meant to be
I'm an island person.
Yeah, I'm not meant to.
Do you really want to go
here.
back?
Yeah, I'm planning to go back. And like, I've already started those conversations with my partner about like wanting to leave. He's like 60% on board, 50% like, I've never been there. I don't know what you're talking about.
But he didn't go with you?
He's coming with me in July. So we're going for his first time in July.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm like, this is not, and it's actually what really like set that off for me is like the thought about wanting kids. Like it was that really, I'm like thinking, if I were one day to like want kids, there's no way I cannot raise them here. Only because like I just don't know how. I think like parents who are raising their kids here are like super parents because I just can't imagine how that would work for me.
No, I think it's like we ended, well, for me, I didn't really know what that would entail. I didn't think I was going to be like sending my kids to school and being like, I hope there's no mass shooting, which is legitimately a thought in this country. And anyone that doesn't think it is in massive denial. Like, I didn't think that before I had kids, you know? Like, I just wasn't aware or whatever. So yeah, I don't know if we're super parents. We're just like, oh shit, we're now in this situation. What do we do?
But maybe the landscape has also changed a lot.
Yeah,
you know?
That's true. Like it's gotten, yes, things have gotten a lot worse. Yeah. It's crazy.
So you wanting kids, you were like, where would I want to raise them?
Yeah,
that
like
brought you to the Philippines.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want kids, period, point blank. But in like if you know, if that ever comes to mind, like then I can't because I can't raise a kid on my own. And like even now I struggle asking for help. So like what more if I'm a mom, you know?
I'm like having a hard time raising myself.
Yeah, me.
I was literally, we were just talking about this before you came. I'm like, I feel like I can't even like think about another person because I'm having a hard time remembering to eat my vegetables and like get enough rest and stuff like that.
I'm glad I fed you lots of vegetables.
That's why I was like, thank goodness, you know? It's like, I think I need a wife. Fuck the husband. I need a wife to take care of me.
Yeah, I feel that.
You know? Kind of like what you were saying. You're so busy taking care of yourself and existing in capitalism that it's like, what else do you have left to give to other people at this point?
Yeah, it's true. And it's like, I've seen like people post on social saying like, we need to care more. Like we're not doing enough. And I totally agree. And at the same time, I'm also thinking, what are the terms and conditions that are, what are literally the terms and conditions that are literally like prohibiting people from showing up more? And like, how do we go there? Like, you know, I feel like that's one of the things that's missing in a lot of these conversations. I'm seeing like on Instagram, at least, it's like we all need help, but like, how are we able to just like meet each other where we're at instead of immediately assuming like, oh, this person doesn't care because they're not showing up in this way, you know?
I think it's vocalizing your needs, right?
Yeah.
I have like a budget every month, kind of like a tithing in church, but I give it to like people.
Smart.
Or I give, because I don't go to church, I give it to a person that I just think of, or I give it to a mutual aid.
Smart, yeah.
I don't like to say charity anymore.
Yeah.
And so I just started doing that. Like, I don't necessarily know what their financial situation is. Sometimes, you know, my friends will literally tell me that they can't afford rent, so that will go to that person. And so I just started doing that practice because I think so many people are struggling and they don't actually say that they are, you know, because we're not mind readers either.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I always like to say, if a person's not telling me something, I'm not spending I will not know unless you tell me. And I think, like, as an only child, immigrant, daughter of immigrants, I feel like most of my life I've been conditioned to, like, as a child, like, my job was to take care of my parents, you know? And so now coming into, like, the organizing community building space, I'm like, oh, I got a lot to work on my own. Like, I need therapy. Like, I caused harm there. Like, so... Yeah.
But that's what's so amazing about you. You do take accountability, and you do like take a moment to reflect on some of the things that you might have contributed to harm.
I have
Remember
to.
we were talking about how we both started calling people out, and then I was sharing with you, I think that comes from a traumatic place of not being seen as kids and not being rescued, essentially. And so then when you're witnessing a genocide, you're like, why doesn't anybody care? You know, it's so triggering to watch. And so then as an adult, you're like, how dare you? You know, you have to show up in this way. And so I think that's where my trauma response came from.
Same.
And then realizing that's where it came from.
Yeah, same. And then it's like, my intention wasn't to shame other people into speaking out, but there have been so many times where I'd feel so frustrated that it would be shaming. Like, the energy I would put behind it is shaming. And like, thinking about my mom, how did she try to discipline me? Through shaming. Yeah. Like, and did that work? No, not really. No. We don't have a relationship. So like, how can I expect other people to change if that's the energy I'm putting behind it? That's where I'm at now with the content, because I'm like, I don't know where to go publicly, like, to create change, because I just haven't worked on myself. Like, for a year, I've just been so angry. Yeah.
It's a fine line, though, because sometimes it needs to be said, right?
Yeah.
Like, it needs to be pointed out.
It does.
Because it can't just be allowed to keep passing. But I guess it's like finding the way to do it. Maybe there's like an artful way to do it. Or what I loved from the Soul Space night a couple weeks ago was just the message of like, it just ultimately needed to be rooted in love, which is not very different to shame. It's hard to do, though, because to your point, like, it needs to be like an inside job. Like, the work needs to have not been completed internally, because I don't think it can ever be completed, but like, that needs to happen. Because really, if you're shaming others, it's because you're shaming yourself, or like you're still carrying the weight of having been shamed. And so once that is processed out, maybe you're more able to move in love.
But there's a difference between shame and accountability.
Yes.
And so if you have a platform like the holistic psychologist and Gabby Bernstein, like the people that you're
just calling them out,
they have they have like
for sure
millions of people following them.
Yeah.
They have all of these books about unity consciousness and unconditional love, and then you're not gonna like talk about Palestine.
I mean, that's also
or anything.
Like, that's just dangerous, right?
Dangerous.
And that is kind of like your warning people, because like there are people who maybe don't have as in-depth of a viewpoint, and they just blindly follow these people who then they're gonna go, it's like cycles of harm, and you have to stop that too.
You have to. Yeah.
So it is like accountability is rooted in love because that's justice. It's calling out an injustice because you care about people. So I think that's different than shame. I never felt shame from your videos, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
I actually thought you were doing the Lord's work.
Really?
Yeah. Because so many
interesting.
people are afraid to be the one to call people out.
Yeah, actually funny because I been doing a lot of reflecting on that, and I'm like, ooh, I was so angry.
But why is anger
but, like,
bad?
But then it's exactly
anger.
that.
It's righteous
It's
anger.
exactly that. And I think it's, you know what it is? Like, I think really, like, not to bring up my parents again, but like...
Bring them up.
I think it really is, like, living with my parents and seeing as an adult how my mom is, like, she's always been, you know, seeing how our relationship is now as an adult, I think has caused me to really revel in the shame that I used to feel as a child.
Yeah.
And then I would take that to like reflecting on my content. I'm like, ooh, I was so angry. But no, like if I wasn't living with my parents, I wouldn't feel this way. Like I would probably be like, yeah, that's a Zionist. Like, you know, but I think it really is right now, like intertangling like who my adultness with my, how I show up on social media with like, oh, I'm living with my mom who shames me on the daily, you know?
Yeah.
It's all interconnected.
It's
You're
all
connecting the
interconnected.
dots.
I am. As a Pisces, I'm like, I'm over it. End it.
Well, that's a good transition because we've got some rapid fire questions.
What's your big three?
I am a rising Gemini, moon Pisces, sun Pisces.
Ooh.
That's fun.
Really? It sucks.
What does that mean? Because right now we're in Pisces season.
Yes, which makes sense because you are solar return this week. Birthday. But the fact that you have both your moon and your sun means that you were born near new moon.
I looked it up
Moon
when
in
you
Pisces.
told me last weekend. I was like, oh, I was. What does that mean?
What are your nodes? Like your north node and south node?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No. Is that midheaven? Is that
No,
the same
the
thing?
north node and the south node. We'll look it up later. But, you know, having a Gemini rising, you're a very mutable person. Mutable people have like I have a mutable rising sign. So do you. You're Virgo rising.
Virgo's
it's like,
mutable?
Yeah. So it means that like you can't just be one thing, you know, because they're double-bodied signs. So like I'm an astrologer, but I also do like I'm also an author or whatever, you know?
Hobby hopping.
Yes.
It's me. Yeah.
Yes. And we don't just have like one career path. We do many different things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Another question is, how will you know that liberation is here? That we are liberated? Like, what will you feel? What will things look like?
Yeah. I think it's here. Like, I think it's here in the sense, like, it's not, like, because I think, when you said that, I thought about, like, my cousins in the Philippines and, like, the provinces, and I'm like, a lot of how they live looks like liberation to me, living in here, the imperial core. So I'm now thinking, like, I think it's here in the ways that, even another thing that just came up, my parents, who are Trump supporters, watched Democracy Now! For the first time last week. They watched an episode on their own, never told them about it.
Hey, that's something.
That's something. My mom, I will give her credit where credit is due. She's very pro-Palestine. And, like, I didn't expect that. She's been actually helping, like, gather things for the Soul Space events, you know? So I think it's here. It's coming, you know? I think, like, when it comes to the genocide, like, no, it is not here. Like, but I think it's intertwined. Like, I think it's here, and I don't know if that made sense.
Yes, it does.
Layered ways.
Yeah, but I like that imagery you just played about your cousins.
Yeah.
And like they might not have the level of wealth that one would experience in the US, but it seems like they're free in other aspects.
Yeah.
So if there was no such thing as capitalism, what would you be doing?
Yeah, I'd be a fairy.
Of course, Pisces.
I'd be a fairy. I literally would be rolling in grass.
Would you be frolicking?
I would be frolicking in grass. First of all, I wouldn't even be here in this country. I'd be in the Philippines.
Okay.
Like, I think about this all the time.
Were you born in the Philippines?
Yeah.
Oh, you were?
Philippines.
Oh, so that is literally like your DNA.
Yeah,
like,
I am not supposed to be here.
You're not supposed to be here.
Yeah. I believe that.
Yeah.
And doing like, honestly, would I say I would be doing nothing? No, I feel like I'd be helping out my family, hosting picnics, but like, yeah, I think about that every day. That's like my journal prompt every day. And I'm like, how can I just like get closer to that? Yeah.
Whenever we ask that question, I just imagine people frolicking in this big meadow and just frolicking.
Same.
Like, yeah.
Same.
And eating juicy fruits and like lounging.
No,
and
me.
oh, yeah.
Me.
Well, thank you so much, Kim. This was so fun talking to you and getting to know you better.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm like, I have a lot of thoughts. We've been going through it, but thank you so much. This is amazing, wonderful.